Here on the Creative Thinker podcast, we discuss all theories, philosophy, and thought behind the creative process. And we hope that you find some inspiration along the way.
Hello and welcome to the Creative Thinker podcast. My name is Henry Moon. Thrilled to have you along wherever you are on this little globe of ours. I'm joined by
Michael Vasquez.
Hello. Very excited about today's podcast. We're going to be talking about quests and twists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to be piggybacking off of our NPC talk that we had in our last podcast, and we're still going to push forward with kind of that theme. But yeah, we're talking about quest, twist, the importance of it, how to put them in to our city of Reween that we are creating, and a couple of examples that we have in our own works as well.
Yeah, so it's going to be dope. This is the best way to keep your players or your audience invested. It's a little mini 3-act structure over and over and over. Anybody who's played video games is going to be familiar with what quests are, but just for the sake of everyone listening, we're going to go ahead and define that. So what's the definition of quests?
Well, according to Wikipedia, the purpose of a quest, or the definition of the quest, is a journey towards a specific mission or a goal. It serves as a plot device in mythology and fiction. It's a difficult journey towards a goal, often symbolic or allegorical.
Yeah.
That's a good old Wiki has to say about quests.
Wiki has some good stuff every now and again. I think the only thing I really want to add to that is that quests are what invest people. Mm-hmm. Quests are what give you direction inside of a story. I think about when we were setting up for this episode, I was thinking about Skyrim a lot. Mm-hmm. And if you just walked into Skyrim as a game, there is so much going on. You have no frame of reference. You have no idea what to do. Mm-hmm. I find it's almost that same feeling of like when I graduated high school. I was like, well, I could do anything now. Uh-oh.
Yeah, for real.
Really overwhelming. So instead of giving your audience this great big world and saying you can do anything you want, which is something we all want to do as storytellers, instead of doing that, we're giving a structured path forward that helps our audience engage with our story and make sure that they see all the parts of our story that we really want them to see. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want to say about quests. And then I'm going to throw in twists here at the beginning just so that you have a grounding piece of information to start with. Twists, at least the way I'm looking at it, is anything that you don't know about the quest ahead of time. So it's just going to be something that adds a little bit of extra lore or I'm watching Suits right now. I'm sure I've mentioned that already. I talk about what I'm doing all the time on here. But basically, the entire idea behind the show that is Suits is twists. So it's like everybody has a secret motive, and that's always the twist on that show.
Yeah.
And so that's basically the idea of twists, is that it's just going to be a secret, and then when you're on your quest, you're going to find out this secret bit of information. So like Grand Theft Auto 5, I thought did this really well on a lot of their missions where you just show up and nothing is as it seems. So there was one quest that I'm going to botch miserably, kind of like we did with Harry Potter the other day, but
don't get mad.
Don't get mad.
It's okay.
If you're a super fan, I am sorry.
Super fan of GTA.
I only have so much room in my memory.
Yeah.
So anyway, Grand Theft Auto, there was this one mission where it was like you needed to find this guy's girlfriend. He's freaking out. You're in front of him. He's like just absolutely out of his mind with worry. And he says like, I need to find her. Why don't you do that for me? And so, you go down this list of possible locations. You finally find her and you're feeling really good about yourself. And then you return her to him. And that's when you find out the twist, which is that she has been trying to hide from him because he is an awful human being. And so they start fighting. He starts yelling at her, starts trying to get physically aggressive. And then you have a choice of how you want to finish that quest.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a great example of what a twist is.
Yeah. I mean, kind of piggybacking off of that. So you kind of give the option for more endings for a quest. What are some of the typical quest types that we'll be talking about today? Because you kind of hit two quest types there in one quest, depending on how you want to end it.
Yeah. So this idea of quests can be really overwhelming because once again, you're not giving anybody any grounding substance, any place to start. So here are some quest types that I've watched a lot of different videos. This is something that I've done a lot of research on over the years because I like the structure of video games.
Yeah.
I don't play them a lot anymore. I hardly at all. In fact, like once I graduated high school, I just more or less stopped, at least narrative games. But I'll always watch those YouTube videos about what structure is behind them. Like Unreal 5 is dropping. Anyway, I digress. I get really excited about the technology and then the idea of story behind it. So I keep up with games, but I don't play them a lot. Anyway, I've distilled down what I think are the biggest quest types. Obviously, we can mix and match. We can do anything we want once we get started, but this is the groundwork that I think is going to be most useful to you. So first of all, we have retrieval and delivery quests. That is, take this over there or go over there, get that, and come back.
In your example for GTA, grabbing the girl, bringing her back to the boyfriend. Retrieval and delivery kind of right there.
Yes. So those I'm just lumping in together because it literally is go get this or bring that back. And that's like super simple. There's tons of quests like that, like key card quests in games or
like go and pick the berries for whatever type of game that you're playing. Like go and grab that for the farmer and bring it back, or go and grab this for the quest giver and bring it back. I mean, it's a super easy one, super simple, and it's really good to just have a couple of those in like the back of your pocket, especially my mind always thinking as a DM or in D&D terms, having that as a dungeon master or a game master, having those retrieval quests just ready for the area you're in. Just in case, you never know when one of your players gets sick and you have to pull it out and be like, this isn't how I expected the session to go. So,
yeah, think anything crafting, anything gathering. Hunting is a good example, but those are also kind of going to merge into kill quests. But we'll get to those in a moment.
Yep.
You want to get the next one?
And it's been a moment. So our second type of quest, we're talking about kill or protect quest, right? So kill, obviously you're going to have, you'll find this a lot like in fantasy games where you finally get to a point where, go and kill this bad guy. And we've talked a lot about in my D&D game, the High Table, how they were a faction, and the quest for y'all was go and kill these 3 high value targets. Or you can have protect quest where they're going to go through kind of a dangerous area. You need to protect, some royal from point A city to point B city and make sure that they're safe all the way through. Super simple quest, super easy. If you're playing D&D, you're going to have a lot of kills.
For sure. I like Assassin's Creed is all kill quests pretty much, right? They sort of perfected it, yeah, exactly. They've done a really good job of like, here's the lore as you're looking at this person to kill them, as you're investigating how to kill them best. I mean, their entire game is predicated on kill quests, and I think that they did a really good job. Protect quests, you could be thinking about things like anytime you have to download information off a computer in a video game, right? And it's like, okay, well, it's going to take 5 minutes. Well, you know that you're fucked for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
Because people are going to be filing in and trying to shoot you while you protect this computer. That's a really common one. I just played through Far Cry. As I say, I don't play video games much anymore. I just finished Far Cry finally. I don't know how many years it's been out, but I started it like a month after it came out, and I just finished it. So anyway, it's been a while. So like, you don't want to limit these quest ideas to, protection means go find a character and protect them. Well, not necessarily. It could be a computer. It could be anything. So that is kill and protect. Pretty straightforward. The next one is my favorite kind, which is why sometimes my stories start to feel a little bit more like plays than actual games. Lore quests. Lore, in case I'm not enunciating that to the best of my ability. Lore quests are when you are participating in any like main quest of a story. It's like you're gonna know what's going on in the world. You're gonna know what happens next. You're gonna change the world around you or the story that you are in a meaningful way. So like main quests versus side quests. These are gonna be your main quests. 9 times out of 10.
Mhm.
There are some, good side quests that are going to add a lot of lore to your story and give you a lot of surrounding information. But me personally, I don't think of them as lore quests as much as I do like the main story.
I think a good game that did lore quest as side quests that actually made it worth looking into as someone who was trying to take in as a new storyteller, like trying to take in the facets of storytelling, was God of War. Because they have like different areas where there are spirits, and you have to figure out like why they died and what happened to them and what's causing them to not go to Valhalla or whatever it is. And you really have to like, you could spend the time to figure out the lore reasons why. I think it's very interesting. I loved a lot of the side quests in God of War because they put so much love and attention to it. So the lore quest, even though it was a side quest, it still felt enriched the story and enriched the world.
I think Skyrim I never finished, so don't hate me for this to begin with. But there is a side quest when you first start the game that you can do that you can become a werewolf and you can become a vampire.
Okay.
And it's like it introduces you to the idea. I mean, it takes an insane amount of time. I don't know how long it was. It was like longer than a Halo game. It was like maybe 15 hours worth of quests or something. It was a side quest.
Yeah.
And it introduced me to the idea that there's going to be secret societies in like every city I traveled to.
Yeah.
Which was really entertaining. I hadn't played a game where it was like, yeah, but watch out for the cults.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before I hadn't played a lot of like Elder Scrolls game before Skyrim, so there's that as well. Again, don't at me. But those are lore quests. It's just going to be things that build out your world.
And so I think the next two quests, we don't necessarily go into a lot of this in the rest of the episode, but we have, well, maybe a little bit of this. Mystery and investigation would be our next quest. Pretty self-explanatory, right? There's a mystery. Your main character needs to figure out what's going on, what's happening. Why is this? Why is this happening? That's the part of the mystery, trying to figure it out. And you're investigating as you go. I think it's pretty straightforward, pretty interesting. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. A lot of different shows, a lot of different games that you can look to as examples for those mystery or investigation quests. Do you have anything to add to that?
So there is Detroit Becoming Human, I think is the name of the video game, where you are an android, a robot person that is coming to consciousness, and you're also a detective, and that's how they use androids. And so you are literally on crime scenes investigating things and piecing together evidence. And for these, it's they always tell you on D&D forums and stuff like that, like, do not do investigative quests.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because no matter how simple you think it is, your players are not going to piece it together.
Yeah.
And it's because, they don't have like, even if they have physical representations of the evidence, they're not taught on, investigative methods or anything like that. And it's not going to be spoon fed to you like it is on television.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of times, like as a if you're running a game, you're the one that's thinking a lot about, oh, they should be thinking like this or they should be thinking like that. And it was very hard. I think we ran we were in a Call of Cthulhu game, and it was like, I don't necessarily know, like, what are you expecting me to do here? Neither of us were the game master, but the game master, like, there was an expectation of like, okay, you need to do this. And we're like, I mean, what would our characters know? And he was like, no, you guys need to figure it out. I was like, okay, well, give us a little bit of feeding, help us along the way. And I think if you do add this into your game as a DM, definitely have those moments or those checks that you can help your players get to that point. Or it's a lot easier if you're writing to like start dropping those little lore bits throughout the story, so that as a reader, you might not catch it the first time through, and then the second time you're gonna be like, that was it. Oh, I see it. All the pieces are coming together.
I thought one game that I thought did this really well was Heavy Rain. I'm pretty sure it's called.
Yeah.
It's a very RP heavy kind of game where it's like, it's not like your regular fighting game. I think there's almost no fighting. It's like, it's very like you press the buttons stylistically, and that's how you control the game. It's like down in a circle with your right thumb, and that right thumbstick, and that opens a door, things like that. It's supposed to be like the controls are very much mimicking the movement you would do to do that thing. If you want to pick up a cup, it's like up.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's a detective game as well. And the mysteries didn't always solve themselves. And you would leave the mystery scene and then later talk to the perps or talk to suspects and things like that. And everything, it almost funneled you into an answer because as you closed in with the investigation and said, okay, this seems like it's the most possible answer.
Yeah.
Then you would interview the person and then they start freaking out because you're onto them.
Yeah.
Right. So it was almost like it introduced you with the answer the further you got into what the mystery is. So I thought that was an interesting way to do mystery or investigation.
And then our last type of quest would be?
Our last type of quest is going to be like Assassin's Creed, right? This is what you want to be thinking. It's completion through activation, which is a really obnoxious title for something that I'm trying to distill it down to easy things. But another way you can think of it is like a button quest. You only have to push one button to complete the quest. So like in Assassin's Creed, you run up something tall, you're there, the eagle flies around you, and you see the countryside, and suddenly you have access to that part of the map. So sometimes it's like, okay, I have to sync here. So I press the triangle or Y, depending on what console you're on, and you get to see the surroundings. You're done. The quest is completed when you push that one button. That's all you need to do. So there's a lot of quests that are like that in games now where I think Dying Light 2, it was, well, you activate a radio tower and now you have basically influence over a part of the map. You can fast travel there, stuff like that. These are more convenience quests and exploration quests. So it gives you a reason to go to that part of the world in the first place because it makes travel easier. And it also gives you a reason to explore and climb. And sometimes when we're playing games, there's not a lot of reason to go up buildings, I find, in video games. There was one game from forever ago called Crackdown where you're a cop and you can jump like 50 feet in the air.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite games ever because you pass these giant towers as you're driving around and you're like, ooh, that's about to be a dope quest because there's going to be rocket launchers, people flying off the building. You're going to be jumping. And that was such a fun game. So chaotic and good. But anyway, that is activation quests.
What I think is so funny about looking at these types of quests, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite recently, and dude, Fortnite's got all of these. Fortnite has all of these quests, and I think that's part of what makes it such a good game. Because it has retrieval quests, it has kill protect quests, it has lore, it has mystery, and completion through activation. Absolutely wild. If you play Fortnite, they're in there, whether you know it or not. I think that's part of what brings you back. You know, there are weekly quests and daily quests that help you progress in the game, and obviously the point of the game is to kill, but you can do your bounties, you can learn the lore. I remember back in the day there was like old Fortnite lore that if you weren't playing and you weren't paying attention, then you would miss it and you wouldn't understand why the island just blew up with a creature in the middle of it that came out of the iceberg, and there's this Cybertron that's fighting it. So it's absolutely wild how much Fortnite actually relates to these types of quests. But we're not talking about Fortnite today. We're going all the way back to our own city, homebrewed city of Reween.
I was like, I'm going to have to go play Fortnite to get through the rest of this episode. I would do it. I would do it.
Oh, man. There's so much history there. So much deep history in Fortnite. Anyways, but now we're talking about Reween, right? We're going to use these quests for our city. Would you like to reintroduce Reween to those who have not listened to some of the other podcasts?
So Reween, we've done so much world building here, both on the podcast and not, that I want to give it a little more justice we're going to fly through a couple different ways. So basically the historical perspective is this is a city that is in the jungle. It's in the midst of the jungle. It's almost like one of those mythical places where you can't find it unless you're lost. And it's alongside this mountain range that also gives it cover, but it keeps that jungle good and lush, lots of rain. And there's this ancient culture there that has sprung up on the bones or the basically off of the magic of a god that has been in some sort of coma for centuries. And when it first came there, and let's say maybe it was sick or something, sat down at the base of these mountains. That is when our native population came to be. And now there is a cave underneath the city that houses the essence of that dead god. And it's used as sort of a coming of age cave, or like a place where the town mystic goes to have revelations, things like that. It's like, this is the portal to the other world, and our local population knows that, even though they're separated by that from that by centuries.
Yeah.
And part of the way that this culture worships is that they have this communal plant that they all take care of, and their homes, their houses, their dwellings are going to be parts of the trees that are here in the jungle. So it's like they've had years to grow them magically and not magically to put houses in. So they used boulders from the mountain to grow trees around them. And so now they have like these 1 or 2 bedroom tree bases that they live in. And it's a very earthy existence. And so they cut themselves to give blood to this plant, like at least every couple of days. And so that's sort of like their act of contrition. This is also the way that they commune with nature around them. There is a power structure here, and information is held tight by that power structure. So there are things like basically magic itself has been taken away from the people in any meaningful way and is hoarded by the power structure here. So this is, as best I can describe it, the history of the location.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to be thinking about like anything you'd experience in a jungle, like a rainforest style jungle. It's very humid, lots of bugs, and these people are as connected with nature as they can be. So their clothes are going to be out of natural fibers, nothing animal based. It's all going to be like plant based clothing, a lot of earthen colors. That's what you want to be picturing here in Reween. And I think that's a good introduction to the actual town.
Yep.
Is there anything I left out?
No, I don't think so. I think we're going to explore, and then also forgive us if we just decide to change it, because that's part of the world building process and part of the process that we want to take you along with us is being able to scrap ideas and think like, okay, this was a really good idea 3 podcasts ago, but now that we're talking about these certain quests, we're changing elements of the world. So if we contradict ourselves, that's fine. You can do it yourself all the time. And I think we were talking about that earlier for something you're working on, that it's okay to change your world building process. It's okay to change certain facts that you had as hard and true facts when you're not completed with your work. It's okay to scrap it and be like, you know what? I'm changing it. That's fine. Welcome that idea that sometimes what you put down in stone isn't in stone. So yeah, I think that's it for Roween. I don't think there's really much else to add to it. And then we can start heading into. You have one.
There's one more thing.
Okay.
Because we did another episode.
Oh.
Where we talked about Glenfear.
Right.
So this is part of the lore going into this podcast. Is Glenfear was they're all furbolgs, by the way, which is I think stone people.
They're like kind of like cow people, I think is the best way to describe them, like blue cow people.
Weird.
Yeah, it's a D&D race. When we're looking, I was like, this is how I figure out like species in my world is I go to D&D Beyond, and then I scroll down the races, and I'm like, oh, here's a good one. We're just gonna add that in.
Yeah, so go ahead and Google cow people. No, just kidding. Furbolgs. And you can see this is our native population and get you a little bit more grounded in the world. But we created the character of Glenfear, who was coming of age, teenage character, who is the first to enter into this cave that is this god that is awakening. The first one to enter who does not get a typical vision. So with the sleeping deity, when the coming of age characters of old would go into this cave, they would get a vision by joining consciousness with this deity. And because it was in some sort of coma, it was in a digestible enough piece that they could have a clear picture of what this deity, how it envisioned them. So it would give them basically an out-of-body experience that would show them what they needed to do with their life in the village, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he would be the first one as this deity begins to wake up that goes into the cave. And what happens is it's too much consciousness that he comes in contact with. And so essentially he has this nonsensical vision that he can't piece together, which is enough to get him almost excommunicated from his village. Or is enough for him to, not almost.
Yeah.
And it also imbues him with magic, which is up until this point removed from the common people, of which he is one of. And so that is Glenfear. We're not going to be discussing him because we're going to be using player characters or audience member as our main character so that we can maybe not hem ourselves in with the purposes of our main character as we're creating these quests. Basically, we're trying to create the world around the main character, and we found the best way to do that is to remove any ideas or preconceptions we had about what a main character is. So we're removing Glenfear. He is in the world, and he is pursuing his coming-of-age moment, but he is not the main character in today's episode. I feel like that's necessary to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the next step? What are we doing here for this next portion of the podcast, Henry?
So you tell me, do you want to do our what's inspiring us moment, or do you want to build quests right now?
You know what? I think we're about almost 30 minutes in. I want to at least get one of these NPCs in and one of these quests in.
Nice. Okay, so what we're going to do for this next section is we're going to create 3 quests in Reween. And this is, again, the series of podcasts we're building out Reween to hopefully make it a place that you can run games in if you feel like. But also it helps us stretch our minds and we enjoy the hell out of it. So we're going to be adding quests and choosing from that list of what kind of quests that we're going to use. And then we're also going to be adding a twist to each of our quests.
Yep.
So we went ahead and came up with NPC names ahead of time. So that we don't have to use the name generator live. And so our first character is going to be, you know how like in Skyrim, whenever you walk into a town, the first person you meet is like some kid that's like truant, just like throwing rocks at a pig or something. I don't know. It's just like, just something random. It's like when you first walk into a town to ground you and say, okay, here is a person and they lack the inhibitions not to talk to me. So we have a child character. His name is Avasia. So we want to build a quest around Avasia, and we also want to build what he looks like and maybe a little bit about him. So what does Avasia look like, Michael?
I mean, I would assume he's just like a little old furball child, probably we'll say like 8 or 9 years old. And he's one of those kids that he's running around the streets and he just has like his shorts on or whatever.
Like breeches or something.
Yeah. And no shirt and is just like running around. Where he falls upon our quest givers. I'd say he's probably got the big round kid eyes who is still innocent and hasn't seen the trauma of the world.
The high pitched voice and everything. Just
and runs into the group. So or whatever, our adventuring party, if you want to use this for a D&D, it can be like a 2 to 5 person adventuring party. It could be your one character if you're writing a book or writing a short story about these quests. This kid runs into the group. I'm just going to call him the group.
Well, let's start with retrieval quests. So let's say this kid has, let's see, if he's by himself, let's say he's got friends. And those friends are elsewhere. So maybe we have our retrieval right there where, he runs up to our player character. We'll just say PC from now on. How about that?
There we go.
He runs up to our PC and says, I need someone to get my friend, but nobody's listening to me. You know, like maybe he's just a kid. He's been running around telling everybody in town, my friend is stuck somewhere.
Could be what do you call it? Oh, it could be like the boy that cried wolf, right? He's constantly saying like, oh, someone's in trouble. Oh, something's happening here. And so the town kind of has this disbelief in what this kid is saying. So when
So
he's
a bit
like,
of an annoying youth already.
yeah, so when he says like, hey, my friend is stuck up in this house and he can't get out or whatever, or they're trapped there, then no one listens to him except for RPCs who are just new to this town. They're like, someone in need. A child is coming for help. Let's help the child.
And maybe another wrinkle to that is that kid's friend can be stuck in a place that everybody knows is empty, like those haunted house movies that kids are always in, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they were screwing around at this place that nobody should be anyway because it's like abandoned,
Right.
And then for some reason that kid is now stuck there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's take that and like ground it in the story of Reween. So we have a house on the hill. Let's say there's a hill.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a lot of hills in the jungle, but let's say that there's an elevated place.
Yeah.
Maybe a bubble where the trees get a little bit higher in the forest.
maybe like a little bit closer up to the mountain, and like as the mountains, I don't know, grow, move, there's like a section of houses that probably like got crushed by some. We talked about potentially having an avalanche here, right? What if the avalanche? This is a place that avalanches happen, small avalanches, and has been deserted from the city because these avalanches have now caused, houses to fall and crumble. But there's one house that is up, but man, it's barely up.
So like they abandoned that part of town knowing that the mountains are moving down more or less.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, there's this house that's just outside of town. It leads our PC into the history of the town, and if they're just now arriving, their arrival is something that we also talked about before the podcast, that having them like our introduction or telling our characters that they were mining precious minerals or gems or something in the mountain, and because of these avalanches that they weren't privy to, just the locals were, they were forced down the mountain on this side of the mountain into the jungle, and then they happened upon the city. And so the first person they're interacting with is telling them about this city that's a little further up the mountain. It's a little bit removed. So this is their first interaction with the history of the town, which is also just a good hook. That's just an aside. I mean, anyway, so the friend is up there. His name is Saro. And so our PC goes up there and starts poking around. They'll get in the house. They'll, just see normal signs of wear and tear and ruins. And then they'll start seeing these colorful vines that lead them deeper and deeper into the house until they find Saro.
And I think the vines is important, right? Because we've talked about earlier that the plant life here, everyone has a vine or a piece of plant that they're keeping alive with their blood in this city. And this PC has no idea what's going on with this, right? So he sees, or they see this vine unnatural before they get here to the city. And now like the kid doesn't give it any notice, but the PC is like, this vine is weird. Like it looks weird. Everyone else in the city is like, yeah, that's the vine, right?
Yeah. And we'll explain it to those listening a little later.
Yeah. And
you probably guessed already.
So then we see the vine kind of like entangling this house, whereas most of the rest of the city, you have like a vine go into the house. There are a mass of vines here in this house.
And you'll hear like kids giggling the further you get into the house, almost like a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
A little bit where like the vines will like light up or move or something very slowly anytime there's giggling sounds and stuff like that. Just give you a little creepy intro as you go further into this house until you find you find Saro.
Yeah. So I would say like you're going in there. Evastia is like scared. He's telling you like, I swear I saw him go in here. No one believes me that they're here. And now it turns from friend to them. And it's like this kind of like, what are we getting ourselves into here? And then you do find Sarah, and what do you see?
So I feel like, I mean, we've talked about this outside the podcast a little bit too, where it's like magic is breaking free, but also these weird spirits are breaking free. So I feel like this is a good as a twist to throw in that this kid has basically stumbled upon the first like demon possession, more or less, of this deity, and so he has been possessed by the vine. So like you'll see maybe a vine shaped as a human dug into the wall behind him, and then like this whatever color the vines are. In my mind, they're purple, but you see this like projection in purple that is Sarah and or Sarah. Sorry, Sarah's a totally different name. Come on. Anyway, Sarah projected out in this like purple light almost, and so you see the form that is the kid, but you see the vines that are projecting it behind him, and so your twist is then basically it gives you an extra chance to maybe solve or not solve the quest. You see that maybe through interaction with Sarah that his spirit at least still lives on. But you see what it's coming from. So do you let him live? Do you try to find a way to save him, or do you try to hack away at the vines? Like it gives you a twist of, you found lore, you've gone to retrieve this person, but now you see what they are. And so what do you do?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of different ways you could do it. Like, again, as a D&D group, it could be cutting the vines as part of the combat that needs to happen here. And you're fighting like a ghost or two ghosts or whatever, right? We're talking about multiple laughters. So maybe there's multiple kids that are too far gone into the earth to be saved. But Sarah is the most fresh one. So his is the one that looks like the human form, and that's where you need to start cutting the vines out and taking away, and maybe you can save Sarah.
Ooh, and maybe this is where we introduce soul stones.
Yeah,
where it's like the crystals that are like precious in the mountain. Are basically these souls that are trapped in a stone. So you get like 3 crystals that, as far as you know, are useless. Or maybe they upgrade something. Maybe give you a +1 to one of your stats or something like that. And then later it's revealed that they're actually people, and maybe there's a way to get them out. But yeah, so I feel like that's a good like twist change to what you thought this quest was going to be. Something to keep it interesting as you progress, because straightforward quests you're not going to read a lot about because life isn't straightforward and it makes a very boring story. So that's like, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we give little extra lore, little extra twists and turns to it as we go.
And so, like, again, we kind of hit on I want to just be clear, because the lore reason for what is happening here is this ancient deity that is under the mountain. The chains that are holding it bound down to whatever its coma is are slowly being broken by something. And this is what's causing the plant to become maybe aggressive, right? And so the chains are breaking. The magic that was holding it down is starting to seep out and kind of like seep up from the earth and the ground, and that's causing maybe these possessions and the plant life starting to act more aggressive, which is kind of like the lore reason way looking back. And so the player characters might not know what's actually happening here. But hopefully you as a storyteller will understand like this is what's going on. So then you can use that or drop those hints later on in the next couple of quests.
Yeah. So well said. Let's do our inspirations real quick for this week, and then we will jump back in and do 2 more quests.
Sounds good, man.
Show you a couple other functional quest elements and build out our world a little bit further for you, the audience. So, what's been inspiring you this week, Michael?
So, there is an anime I've been looking at watching for a minute. The 2nd season came out recently, so I was like, okay, let me start it. I've started it, but I never really got hooked onto it. Started watching Vinland Saga, and I'm digging it. I am absolutely digging it. It's like a Viking anime. Super cool, super still like the stereotypical like Vikings trying to invade England and kind of that politics. If you've seen any Viking-esque show like Vikings, and there's another one, the Kingdom or something like that. A plethora of Viking shows. So it's a sense of familiarity, but different characters, different way of looking at it, putting an anime spin on it. It's really cool, very interesting story points. I really liked talking about the twist of one of the characters, a twist of a couple of the characters, and like what's holding them to their goals was kind of crazy. I think you get into like episode maybe 12 or 13, and there's a pretty big twist, and I was like, oh snap, that's crazy. That's a crazy twist that really, you start to understand the actions of this guy now because of the knowledge that he shares. So it's a fun show. And I like shows that are like 20-30 minutes and can still keep your attention. So before I go to sleep.
Nice. For me, I think I've been experimenting with new art tools this past week. So I've really been getting into colored pencils, which I never really dove in with before. And I guess from all the other art practice I've had, it was something that was very intuitive to pick up, and it's actually super easy to layer in colors and get a lot of nuance in, which is something I feel like I was missing in a lot of my artwork, was shading and nuance, like the midtones that portraits take. To get a really good human face, you need a lot of midtones and you need a lot of subtle transitions and color. And I felt like I was missing that. And I've been able to really pick up some good colors and good transitions from using that. And I also found a brush pen, which I never used before. I'd used like brush markers before, but not brush pens. And it really varies my line work in a really fun way. And I haven't used it enough to really get purposeful about it, which I think will take the quality up quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But just using it sort of haphazardly and sketching around with it, it really adds a fun variation to line weights and stuff, and makes it feel more alive than just using, say, a 0.5 for your entire drawing. You know, mm-hmm. It starts to look pretty stale and on a lot more like a coloring page than maybe a work of art. Mm-hmm. So those have been really cool. And to relate that to other things of art, it's like anytime you find a new tool, it can totally renew your enthusiasm for whatever form of art that tool is in. So, you know, when we get into these episodes where we're breaking down character creation and stuff to I don't know, what might seem as like just an insanely small element or an insanely small nuance, we're talking about tools that you can use. So it's like it takes a little bit of extrapolation, but we're talking about tools that you can use that can change how you view your art and what you're able to create with it. So always be on the lookout for that. That's really what inspires me the most and what keeps me coming back to this podcast time and time again, mm-hmm. because it's just so fun to look at a lifelong pursuit in a new perspective.
Yeah.
So that's what's inspiring me this week. I'd say like I took 2 weeks off from doing anything creative the last 2 weeks, and then I started again a couple days ago. And man, it felt so good to take that break and let myself relax and then mm-hmm. get back into it with these new tools that really opened up my creativity. So yeah, that's what's been inspiring me. And yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled. Excited.
Dope. I'm excited to see more art.
Yeah. Let's get back into Quest before I pick up a new project here.
All right, so we're going into our second quest, our second NPC. So you're successful with your first quest, and so these quests are going to build on each other. You're successful with your first quest. Now we're transitioning into our second quest.
So you're returning to town after whether you choose to kill the vines and find the gems or leave the premises. You're still returning back to town.
I would say, yeah, I think narratively, let's say you retrieve Sero, you save him, you come back with this kid, and they're telling the story, right? The kids are talking, and eventually you're there for maybe a day or two. Well, time will be a little wonky here, however you want to do it. And it gets to one of the main leaders' main advisors. They hear about this quest. They hear about how you were able to free this kid, and they want to talk to you. They want to meet the person who saved, so and so's kid, and really try and treat you as a stranger who saved someone from their village, their city. They set up this meeting. They talk to you, and they say, "You know what? You're the perfect person for this next quest." And you meet Meritus, the leader's main advisor. You're the perfect person for this next quest, or the perfect group for this next quest. We need to send you into the cave, right? The cave that these kids are going, or not the kids, the coming of age vision spot.
Glenfear, yeah. The coming of age vision spot. But yeah, where Glenfear goes to get his vision and his first contact with magic.
Mm-hmm. And so we're not going to Glenfear. This isn't a ceremony here, but this guy wants you to go and retrieve someone who hasn't come back from their quest, maybe.
The pitch has got to be something like, it's got to be something like, I need you to go into this part of the cave. Maybe. I got real excited. Sorry. Maybe this is welcome to the tribe. Welcome to our village. A rite of passage for our people is to go to this cave and commune with our deity.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure they give you the directions. It's like the third chamber down, and then off on the right, you're going to see some light. Go in there, right? And then that's what gets you to go. It's like, okay, I'm joining these people. They're very appreciative. This guy seems super nice. Let's get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that changes the quest from a retrieval, but I think what we talked about earlier to more of a lore quest, or
for sure.
I don't even know what you would. Maybe that's an exploration.
I mean, that's gotta be a lore quest, right? Yeah. Or completion through activation, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'd say probably lore, like you're being included. So let's say this will be our lore quest, and then we'll add a twist.
Mm-hmm.
We'll add a twist here. So
let's
say that I know I'm highlighting on my screen. We have a shared document. See where the episode's going. I keep just highlighting it for my own mind, and it's like, anyway, it highlights on his screen too. It's kind of funny. Anyway. So let's say that for the twist, when you get there, this guy really does not want outsiders around to begin with, mm-hmm. but we don't know that. Our PC doesn't know that. Mm-hmm. We know that. Our PC doesn't know that. And so this guy really hates outsiders. The leadership of the town of Reween really hate outsiders. And so what this quest is directions into the bowels of this cave where when he arrives, they will maybe find something like a skeleton in mm-hmm. there, or a bunch of skeletons. This is basically like a sacrificial chamber.
Mm-hmm. What if there's like a creature that's down there that they know resides down there, or like this giant spider or some type of creature abomination that's down there, but they know they can keep it down there if they send people down to this specific location. And if it's a group, it's like, okay, it'll be satiated for like a month or two. But if it's a single person, it'll only be satiated for a month or a couple weeks. So they can kind of plan on like who the next sacrifice is going to be. And then these people come up. It's like, well, it has been about 3 weeks. So we should probably, this would be the perfect person to send on there, or perfect group to send on there, because I don't like them being here,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's spot on. I think, maybe a spider, or maybe some sort of like devil kind of character that's like almost those goopy, tentacly, non-corporeal forms would be a good monster here. Mm-hmm. And I think like any quest you can make where you add a staggered system of basically bosses or boss battles is a good thing, especially for D&D. It's like you're going to be adding layers to the harder that they have to fight to get to that BBEG, the more they're going to respect them when they get there, and the more that it's going to mean to them when they beat it. So anytime you can give them like, this is, another beast they have to defeat on their way to the BBEG that we haven't even really been introduced to yet, which I think is cool. I think that's like several layers to that. And then the betrayal of Meritus for giving you a quest to kill you off. Once you get there, you find that on a corpse, maybe there's a letter or something that's like, I was betrayed. Like, this person stabbed me in the back and this is my last moment,
Or you can see like, even next to like a skeleton hand, like in carving with like a knife or some type of tool that like turn around, or Meritus sent me, or whatever, like some type of just 3 words or maybe a phrase, and that's all they could write down as they're dying or as they're getting eaten by whatever the creature is. And it's like, oh, now the person that sent you, for a fact also sent you down here to kill you or to get rid of you.
Yeah, and it's good also anytime where it's something simple like that, like a betrayal, that you can allow the characters to be offended on their own instead of like spoon feeding it to them. Here is a a stamped letter that says, I don't like you and you shouldn't be here. Instead of that, have them have that main bad guy or that bad guy set them up in a way that's going to offend them, so that they can, get the runaround, so to speak, and can be mad on their own. Because anytime your PC or your audience can be affected emotionally is all that much better for you as the author of this little adventure. So that is quest number 2. It's a lore quest with a little bit of retrieval in the fact that, we had talked about maybe throwing in a magical item in there where like, since you survived this beast, and there's all these dead people around you that clearly don't get investigated at all, they died with all of their stuff on them. So it's like a little bit of a treasure trove to dig through and get something special out of this, even though it may not be something like a lore element. It's just like, what do you want?
Yeah, it could be something from like, a city long lost. Like, who knows how old these skeletons have been here? Who knows when these visitors came in and when the skeletons were here? So there's just really like endless possibilities of things that could be down there to be like the reward.
And you could even have it where like after they kill the beast, then there is a wave of magic released, and that's how your character gets their magical skills or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can take it once you get them down there and have this quest. So that's the outline of that quest. So you're leaving the cave now. You've survived. There's nowhere else that you really want to be in this cave. You're just trying to get the hell out. So you leave the cave, and there in front of you is this older woman, dressed much like all the people there are dressed, just a little bit more maybe frilly, a little bit more like, it looks expensive, but it also looks like they don't bathe a lot. Let me put it that way. And so her name is Zira. Zira, if it matters to you. And so basically the idea behind this NPC is, so far in the story that we're creating through these quests, we have created a rogue element, which is the magical beings. And then there is the evil element in town, which evil to you is once you dead.
Yeah.
So we don't know if they're necessarily evil or not. They just aren't big fans of us, the player characters. So we are now meeting the opposition of that. So you have your good, your evil, and your natural force that are building in these 3 quests. So this third one is what would be to you the good side. You meet Zira, which is, the leader of the opposition or a member of the opposition, that's going to give you a quest. So what is that quest?
Well, I think even before the quest, there's got to be some type of relationship that happens here, because they just got betrayed, right? So your PCs are already untrustworthy right now. And if you've ever played PCs who are untrustworthy, they do not trust the next NPC that gets brought into that wants you to trust them, right? So there's got to be some type of rapport that's built here, and you can figure it out like that. That's really up to you as the creator, the audience member, the DM, the writer, to make this next point cohesive and work for you however you want it to work. So we're going to say either at some point they're cool with each other. through whatever means happen, they're good. They give you information now, more lore on the history of the city, so that you have an understanding of what's happening here. You have an understanding of the government here with Meritus, our big bad, I guess now.
Validating the idea that he sent a lot of people there to die before. Basically, it's like
Zero can be like, oh my gosh, every time I see someone and like she's hobbling, like she's trying to get there at a fast pace, but obviously can't. And she's like, you're the first people I've ever seen come back out. And it's like, I've been seeing people go down here for, 50, 60 years and no one believed me. But, and I was scared to say something, but now there's this opposition. There's a couple people here who know, and we're trying to spread the truth, but it's an uphill battle.
And that's a good way to mend fences. Basically, she has something she needs from you, which is information. What did you see down there? Like, tell me how did you live? Tell me what you saw. All that stuff is like, okay, she's going to lore dump to you, but she really wants something out of you. And so if you can impress upon them that you're helping her, she's not helping you, that may help mend some fences.
And you can even like do the dramatic, like whatever item that you decide to put down there that they end up taking is like, oh, that was my so-and-so's
like
item.
My nephew or something.
Yeah, nephew,
like some
kid,
personal connection.
Whatever, brother, something like that. It's like, they've always said that, he died of whatever or they died of whatever. So
that's really good. Yeah, because that can really like give an emotional beat because you saw how terribly they died. We'll say that you pick it off the body that scrawled something on the wall, the one that alerted you to the fact that you're toast.
Yeah. And it's like you could see like part of the bones are like crushed and some of the other bones are like still intact or whatever, you can be creative with it.
Yeah, that's really good. That mends some fences, like you said. So
anyways, she gives you the information. She gives you an info quest or a stealth quest or a kill quest. I think we said it's an optional kill or a stealth quest to where you're going to start gathering information for this faction, the good faction, we'll say.
Yeah, so I think the way we're setting it up here is like, well, there was someone that told her how her nephew died. And so that's going to be the first person on her list that she wants something done about.
For sure.
So that can be like the first kill quest you get is like going to kill the guy that set up her nephew or at least lied to her. And as an optional part or like maybe as important as well is get information from him. So yeah.
The more important part, like get information. I want him dead, but I would like to have this information.
I need to know how far it goes.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I know that they go to like a small gathering, kind of towards the center of the city, but it's too far away from my home. So I'm never able to go. But I know there's a small gathering. I know this is where this person goes.
I'm a frail old woman. I can't kill him.
Right. Exactly.
This is a you thing.
Yeah.
Player character.
Right. And so they go and they are observing this person through the next, day or two, however long. Again, PCs typically don't wait a day or two. They go. So let's say over the course of a couple hours, you're following and trailing this person throughout the city. You're watching their movements as they go from one place to another. And the time comes for them to come to this meeting place, this small gathering, and they follow them into we'll say like a small tent that kind of like goes into maybe a bigger tent that they have to like sneak through one of the tents to the sides. And once they get in, it's maybe this tent is covering this place, but then there are like what do you call it? Like, not divots,
like pews or like an arena.
I'm thinking, more like an arena, right? Where it's like this funneling. If you can see the video, I'm trying to hand gesture what I'm thinking, right? So there's this tent that kind of goes around, and then there's this not pit either, but it's kind of like
a recessed surface, basically, like a lower stage.
Yeah, and so it kind of goes down a little bit,
like a carnival.
Yeah, I'm very much thinking like a carnival, but like it more expanded than a carnival. It's a giant tent. It's this giant, almost building, but not quite building. And he goes through like this small opening, and you're like, okay, why is he going to this large place? I thought it was gonna be a small gathering. And then you go in,
Because you have no idea who this guy is other than that she wants him dead.
Yeah, exactly.
You sort of lose that in the hysterics of the moment. Like, she's so upset that you don't really ask. You're like, okay, maybe who is this guy to you? And you're like, okay, well, he's someone I trusted, and then you move on. It's almost like you're passing off the character saying like, okay, well, go look at him. And you want to encourage them not to ask so that when they get there, you can have a twist, which is,
there's a shitload of people there at the meeting that she's like, I want to gather information. I want to kill this guy. And he goes to this meeting, and this is where Meritus is at. And some of the other lower
acolytes or whatever you want to say. Guards.
And what if there's this like giant vine that goes through, and they're like partaking of the vine, instead of giving their blood to it, they're eating it. And it's that super purple vine. So it's just like twist on twist on like this kind of cultish thing that's going on. Sorry, excuse me. So this kind of cultish activity that's going on. They're partaking in the vine, which is like their deity, right? So they're partaking of this blood vine, and it all like kind of stoops up to this point, like everything around here. So like when they take a bite, it's like, and like kind of like the juices kind of runs
like the tomato from the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, exactly like that, And then you're like, oh crap. She said a small gathering, and there's fucking 85 to 120 to 300 people, whatever size you want it to be for the city. Like, you see so many people, it's like, there ain't no way we're going to be able to kill this person right here. Like, or take them. Like, we're going to have to be very strategic. And whenever we do, maybe not 300, right? Let's make it something manageable for your player characters. Let's say 45 or 30 people. And it's like, well, we're gonna have to be very strategic on how we take this person out, because when we do, we know that we're gonna have to take out this next person, and we're gonna have to be on the defense, or the offense, and we're gonna have to really make sure we gather a lot more people. And this is where quest on quest on quest comes. Like, we need to gather this person. We need to make sure this person's on our side. Can we trust this person? How do we do this? Meanwhile, eventually, you're trying to not get found out because you were sent to die and you're still alive. And so now it's like this weird kind of like spy, espionage, mystery, investigation type scenario that you put yourself into, all because you wanted to help a kid.
Yeah. And see, this is what I want to add, which is basically when you add these twist elements, like, okay, Zira didn't give you all the information. You needed to go there and find it out. Meritus didn't tell you he was betraying you. Like, these are things that you went there and found out. But it's like that indignant response, that wanting justice, wanting revenge, is going to propel your player forward, and we're using that. That is an element that we are using to then just dump all this lore on top of them. So really, they have done nothing to affect the town at all, but they sort of stumbled into something that gives them a reason for being there. It gives them a reason to want to find out, like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm just here, and I didn't want to be here, but now I am, and I'm mad at all of these people all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But you're through these little quest structures, you're setting up this great story. This is what an introduction through 3 quests. And when you're playing with people, especially if we're talking D&D, like, or even Skyrim, like I was saying, that one quest that's unrelated to anything, where you can become a werewolf and be a werewolf for the rest of the game or whatever.
Yeah.
If you wanted to. That took like 15 hours, 20 hours. I don't know how long the playthrough of that quest was, but it was a long time. And any one of these quests could take you a long time to play through it.
Yeah.
Especially in D&D, and depending on how many players you have. But you have this wonderful introduction to Reween just based off of 3 seemingly unrelated quests that sort of funnel into each other. And we've introduced you to the BBEG, which will eventually be magic in these vines, is the big bad that you'll get to months, maybe years down the road if you're playing D&D. And then you're introduced to Meritus, who's going to be one of the evil people you have to get rid of sometime later in the game. You can feel that already. And Zira is maybe this person that is on the good side, at least the people that aren't aligned with Meritus and the evil. But you're also not entirely trusting of her. So maybe you want to be in charge of the rebellion. Maybe, it's like you start to see yourself in a place in this world, and it's based off of these 3 quests, which, if I might be so bold as to say, are artfully done. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when you rephrase it through that, like my mind is racing. How could this have been introduced a little bit different? What if, your player characters are just found by the group and are taken in, and that's where they find the bonds, and they spend, weeks here or months here trying to become part of the group, and eventually over the course of weeks, Meritus does this, and you have your first quest or whatever, and this time helps you create the bonds to the people of the city, and you really get to flex your DM muscles or your writer muscles by creating good relationships between the people of the town and your main character, is another option to take it, or
I think it's definitely important, like in just about any story, like Lord of the Rings is a great example of this. The Hobbits, what's the name of it? The Shire. There we go. Don't at me. The Shire is such a huge part of that first book, The Fellowship of the Ring, right? It's such a huge part, just in page amount. It is a major part of that book.
Right.
Because he's setting the scene. He's establishing what a beautiful location this is, how serene, how calm, how idyllic this village is.
Yeah.
And then we're going to take you all the way to the other side of the world where evil incarnate exists. And so you can see the contrast so stark in that. I think it's really important in just about every story to do that. Because if you're going to introduce something that is prolifically bad, then you need to have something prolifically good to start off with, so that you see the people slip into this madness that is basically surrounding themselves with evil in order to save what is so good in their life, right? If they don't have much good in their life, why are they going to try to save somebody else's good, right? So, yeah, I think it's important if you're going to DM this, Reween, this area, then it's really important to set it off as like this is a beautiful, very nature centric town, and all of the people know each other, and there's a little bit of gossip, but everybody is on the same page more or less, and everybody is kind to you, but yeah, anyway, that's my thought.
Yeah. That was fun.
Heck yeah, that was fun. So if you enjoyed this episode, stay tuned next week. We're going to get into what we call it area of effect writing, which is, basically idea generation in this world based off of what we know. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty of Reween and really build out this little jungle town based off of the characters and the quests that we've made on the podcast today. So if you had fun this week, I guarantee you'll have fun again next week. Thank you for tuning in. Creatives all over the globe, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.